Good morning, students. We are going to take the lecture on the first chapter, which is the strain energy. So we will be revising some of the basic concepts which we have learned in our previous course, and also we will try to learn the different concepts which are there in the subsequent lectures. So, what is the strain energy? So, before understanding the strain energy, let us understand very clearly what are the type of loads. So, a normal load, which is also known as the axial load, it is a load which is perpendicular to the supporting material. Okay, and it can be of two types. One is a tensile load, in which the material is pulled apart. See here, and to make the material longer, and it is called as a tensile load. And second type is the compressive load, in which the ends of the material are pushed to make the material shorter, and this type of load is known as the compressive load. So this is just to revise. Third type of load is the shear load. It is tangential in nature. So you see the two plates are there. They are joined by some fixing element. So when they are dragged like this, so this plate will go in the opposite direction. Similarly, if they are pushed, then they will go. They form like this. So the shear will take place at this place. The shear will take place at this place. So this is the shear load. The other type is a torsional load. In the torsional load, a angular distortion on the component, such as shaft, is applied. So a twisting phenomena occurs. Then another type of load is the thermal load, uh, in which the distortion is caused because of heating or cooling of material. Suppose a shaft is running in a bearing. So if the friction is not smooth over there, then it is going to heat it up. And when the shaft is stopped, it is going to cool down. So in this cycle of heating and cooling, so the shaft is under the action of a thermal load. So this is another kind of load. Now this also you have studied, but we will study in very detail for the different kinds. So before starting the strain energy, so what is a stress strain diagram? This is a typical stress strain diagram for which is shown for the elastic for the ductile material. So it is a plot of the strain versus stress. So it is strain is on this side and the stress is on this side. So strain is the ratio of the extension upon the original length, and the stress is the ratio of force perpendicular force to the area which is perpendicular to the line of action of the force. So this diagram gives us the behavior of the material and the material property. So it is very important. Each material produces a different kind of stress strain diagram. So we will study this diagram. So first of all, if we see the previous region. So in this we have marked a region 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to 5. Okay, then 3 to 4 here. Okay, so we will try to understand what are these regions. So basically, this region, which is from 0 to 2 or 1 to 2, it is the elastic region. From here to the highest point, it is the elastic region. Okay, and after that, the necking takes place, and the fracture goes here. So this portion is known as the strain hardening. We will understand what is strain hardening. So in the elastic region, the slope is equal to the Young's modulus of elasticity, and in the plastic region, the ultimate tensile strength, strain hardening, and fracture. These three things are important. Uh, so from here, the definition of the stress upon strain is the modulus of velocity. This you can see here. So the ultimate tensile strength is denoted by ultimate UTS, and the stress which is corresponding to this point, which is there up to the elastic region, it is a yield. So elastic region. What is elastic region? It is 1 to 2. The material will return to its original shape after the material is unloaded, like a rubber band. The stress is linearly proportional to the strain. So sigma is the stress which is measured in Pascal. E is the elastic modulus or Young's modulus, again expressed in Pascal. And the strain, it is a dimensionless quantity, meter upon meter or centimeter upon centimeter. So point 2, it is known as the yield strength. It is a point at which the permanent deformation occurs. If it is passed, then the material will no longer return to its original shape. So it is a stress diagram in the elastic. Now, elastic range means the strain or the elongation over a unit length will behave linearly, as we know the equation of the straight line, that is y is equal to mx plus d, where m is the slope and d is the intercept. So we can predict the behavior of the strain. The material will go to its original shape when we remove. Okay, once the load is removed, the stress within the material is less than what is required to create the plastic behavior or a permanent behavior. So this is the elastic region. So this is what exactly we mean by plastic region. Now plastic region or the point 2 to 3, this point between this is known as the, if we draw a line which is parallel to this slope, so up to this point it is the plastic. If a material is loaded beyond the yield strength, the material will not return to its original shape after unloading. Okay. It will have some permanent deformation. If the material is unloaded at point B, it is unloaded, the curve will proceed from point 3 to 4. So it will be at this point, it will not be in the original shape. The slope will be as the slope between 1 and 2. The distance between point 1 and 4 indicates the amount of the permanent deformation. So this is the plastic region. Now, what is the strain hardening? What exactly is the strain hardening? So, if a material is loaded again from point 4, okay, the curve will follow back to point 3 with some elastic modulus. The material now has a higher yield point, point 4. The raising the yield point strength permanently by known as the strain hardening. So strain hardening is the very important phenomena which is to be understood. Now the tensile strength.
Excuse me, sir. Sir?
Yes.
So can you please repeat strain hardening again?
The strain hardening is suppose this is a plastic curve. So it is a point. So this is an elastic region. So in this elastic region, when this is unloaded, it will follow this. So this is a permanent set which will be produced in the material because of the strain hardening. That means the material will become permanently hard, it will absorb that strain. So you see this one. Earlier it should have returned back here, but now when we go back from this place to this place, so from between this was the yield strength. Yield strength means material has started yielding. You know are you clear with the word yielding? What is the meaning of yielding? Yielding means the material has given up. up to this point, if it is in the elastic region or below the yield stress, the whatever deformation is taking place, it is going to return back. So that means material is able to release that. It is not absorbing any energy. But when the material has crossed this point, actually when you draw the, you see, if you remember the old earlier case, I have explained ideally this in a crescent curve is like this. So this is the yield point, upper yield point. And this one is the lower yield point. Now, you see, here corresponding to this, the stress is increased, okay, as you are increasing. And corresponding to this, the strain is this much. But corresponding to this, the strain is increased, although the stress is decreasing. That means without loading, the material has started yielding. It has given up. So this is the meaning. So when it has given up, then the permanent strain is bound to occur in the material, and that phenomena is known as the strain. I think I am clear now. Can we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now the tensile strength. So point 3, the largest value of the stress on the diagram, it's TS, and it is sometimes also called UTS. So it is the maximum strength that material can take. So now since you have read one course, I can make you understand by one example. Suppose we want to design a component, mechanical component, maybe a gear, or maybe a shaft, or maybe a key. Okay, so you know these elements, gear and key and shaft. Everybody is clear? Suppose we are making the shaft of EN8 material, which is an alloy steel. We are also making a shaft key which is of EN6 or EN8, and we can also make the gear which is from alloy steel. Okay. Now, we would like that the gear should not fail at the maximum value of the stress. Suppose this alloy steel takes a maximum value of the stress which is 300 megapascal, say for instance. Okay, so we would like that we should design this gear not at 300 megapascal, which is the ultimate temperature, but we will design at say 0.5 of UTS. So that means we will assume that the material is going to fail at 150. So earlier when the computer calculations were not that easily available, so we used to have the factor of safety which were much larger. And because keeping the factor of safety more, we have to use the material which were costly and the component used to be heavy. The component will be heavy. But nowadays we can predict the exact value, so we can go for the finer range of the factor of safety, and we can make the things lighter. So that means we would not like the material to fail here. Although material can work up to this, but we would like that it should be near yield strength. Okay. So this is the meaning of the UTS. Okay. Now a fracture point is there. So now you see when the necking is starting. So we have seen the UTS test in our previous course. So our specimen is like this. So when we apply the load, a necking takes place at the middle, and the material is taking this shape, and it breaks here. So when we apply ultimate tensile stress is D, we apply the material is yielding, it is in the same hardening, so it goes down and the fracture takes. So at fracture means it can take only this much of, that part take only this much of the stress. That is the meaning of it. So fracture is the material is stressed beyond the point 3, the stress decreases as necking and non-uniform deformation occur. The fracture will finally occur at point 5. Why non-uniform deformation? We have seen there is used to be a cup and cone type of fracture. So this will depend upon the type of material. If it is ductile material, the fracture will be different. If it is brittle material, the fracture will be different. So this you will see in the next slide. Now you see here. So it is a stress strain actual curve for some A36 steel. A36 is a configuration of ASME. Okay, so that means some grade of A grade is there, and it is having some composition. Okay, so it varies from standard to standard. So in this, the stress is measured in per square inch, and the strain is in inch per inch. So you see here, you can clearly see the upper yield point, the lower yield point. The stress remains almost constant, but the strain is increasing. Isn't it? So elastic region, yield, plastic, strain hardening, ultimate strength, and the necking. So this is how the for steel the stress strain diagram takes. Now we will now try to understand the concept of the strain. Okay. So a uniform rod is subjected to a slowly increased load. So this is a uniform rod, and we apply a load P. So it is extended by a amount X. Okay. So this is a curve. You see, if you draw a curve between load and the extension, so it takes in the elastic region like this, and it goes like this. The element the work done by the load P as a long rod elongates by the small amount delta x or dx. So du is the amount of work. So work will be P into dx. That is the elemental work. This element. So which is equal to the area of the width dx under the load deformation diagram. So this is if we integrate this from 0 to x1, suppose from 0 to x1, if we integrate this, it will give us the total work done by the load for deformation of x. So x is the total deformation, and P is the load, and total work done is the area under this. So this is 0 to x1, P into dx. So this is the total work done. And this is total work done is exactly the strain energy, which results in the increase of the strain energy in the. Okay. So in the case of the linear elastic deformation, so it is noted by U. So U is equal to 0 to x1, k into x. Okay, because P, you can write k into x, where k is the load index and x is the extension. So kx into dx. So half, if you integrate this, so it is half k x1 square, and you put the limit. So this is equal to half 1 p1 by x. So you see, if we want to find out at x1, so this is the strain energy. So which is nothing but the area of this triangle. That is half base into height. So this is the base, x1 is the base here, and p1 is the height. So it is the area. So strain energy in the case of the linearly loaded material is given by the area under the load and extension curve. So strain energy now we can define. The form of the energy emanating out of internal strain in the body is known as a strain energy. The strain energy is a particular form of potential energy which is stored within the material which has been subjected to strain as a result of the work done on it. So strain energy denoted by U is equal to external work. So you see here also. So this is the load and extension is delta. This is the extension from 0 to this point. So this is the strain. Thus, for a gradually applied load, work done in straining the body is given by the shaded area. Okay. The same energy per unit volume is also known as the resilience. That is very important term you have to remember. The resilience at the yield point or the proof resistance, proof stress is known as the proof resistance, and it is equal to the maximum amount of the strain. So in derivation, we will see in the future slide. The strain energy stored up to the fracture of the material is known as the toughness. So you have seen the stress strain diagram. So resilience is different, proof resilience is different, and toughness is different. So is it clear? Now, what is the
Yes,
strain
sir.
energy density? Strain energy density. The total strain energy density resulting from the deformation is equal to the area under the curve to epsilon 1. So suppose this is a plastic region up to this. If you have unloaded the material, it has come here. So this is the strain up in the plastic. But this is the total strain. What is the stress strain diagram? So when the material is unloaded, the stress returns to 0, but there is a permanent deformation. You see, this is the permanent deformation which I was talking. Only the strain energy represented by the triangular area will be recovered. So this will be the energy which will be recovered, and this will be the energy which will be. The remainder of energy spent in deforming the material is dissipated actually. To eliminate the effect of size, evaluate the strain energy per unit volume. So strain energy is U, volume is V. So it will be 0 to x1, T into dx we have seen in the previous slide. A into L will be the volume. So energy density is denoted by small u. So it is 0 to epsilon 1 because if you are transforming to this curve, so this will be the limit 0 to epsilon 1 sigma x. This will give the sigma x, and this will give the same. So you see the same energy density is given by this. Now, what is the modulus of toughness? So modulus of toughness. So you see up to rupture, the strain energy density resulting from setting the epsilon 1 is equal to epsilon r is the modulus of toughness. The energy per unit volume required to cause the material to rupture is related to its ductility as well as the ultimate strength. So up to rupture, the epsilon r is taken, and this will be given by the modulus of toughness. That means the area under this up to the rupture. Next is the modulus of resonance. So you see modulus of resonance is there only in the elastic region. So if the stress remains within the proportional limit, so U is equal to 0 to epsilon 1 E epsilon x. This you have put the value of the sigma x, okay, into the D of epsilon. So the stress into strain. So if you see this can be you can put the value of this. Okay, this is nothing but sigma square upon 2e. So you can put the value here. E is equal to, you know that E is equal to sigma upon. So E will be equal to. If you put here, So that means the modulus of resistance, that is strain energy per unit volume, is given by sigma 1 square upon 2. It is in the case of the axially loaded unit. So strain energy density resulting from sigma 1 is equal to sigma y is the modulus of resistance. So this is the definition. Now, suppose a bar is there, and this concept we understand when we be dealing, we'll be discussing the Castigliano's theorem. There, this concept will be used. So I am explaining the phenomena here. So what is the external work and the strain energy? So for more complicated loading solid structures such as presses and springs, the most energy methods are based on the conservation of the energy principle. The work done by the external forces acting on the structure UE is transformed into the internal work or the strain energy. So it is a very important concept we are going to use in the energy theory. So we have taken a bar. Okay. So suppose a P is the applied load P, and another force F dash is applied, so that the bar further deflects by the uh, uh, amount delta dash. Okay. So because of the P, it was the original bar. Because of the self weight or the P applied load, it has deflected by amount delta. But if you apply the additional load, that is F dash, so it is again further uh, reflected by the amount delta dash. So if you draw the situation here, so you see from A to B, you have applied the load P, so delta is the extension. Then you apply the load P plus F dash. So corresponding to this, delta dash will be the extension. Okay. So now you see the triangular area ACE. ACE. Okay. It is the total work done by P and F dash. Triangular area ABG. It is the work done by P due to delta. Triangular area BCD. That is BCD. It is done because of the F dash due to this. The additional work done by P is done du, that is P into D dash, that is this shaded area. P into. So this concept is to be understood while deriving the Castigliano theorem. Now, this we have seen, again we can revise this concept. Suppose this rod is conical or it is non-uniform shape. Okay. So what we do in this case, we take a section at X, and this is a load, L is the total length. So now it will be limit of delta V tending to 0. So this is by the definition of the strain energy. So total strain energy will be equal to integral of U into dV. That is the small element which will take place. So U is equal to sigma x square upon 2 into dV. That is the elastic strain energy. So under the axial load, suppose this is there. So sigma x, you know that P by A. So dV is equal to A into dx. Okay. If you take the x element here, so dx is the change. So U is equal to 0 to L P square upon 2E. So this was in the case of the axial loading. Suppose a moment is there. External work done in the case of the moment. When a moment M undergoes a rotation theta in the same direction as moment, the external work done is due. This is the strain energy M into d theta. There it was sigma into Okay, here it is moment into the angular rotation. So total angle of rotation in radian. So work, external work done will be equal to 0 to theta, m d theta. Moment is gradually raised from 0 to m. So same concept we'll be using here. External will be half m into theta. Okay, this one. And the moment is applied after unloading. So UE dash will be m into theta dash. So the strain energy in the deformed component. So we will take the case one by one. Suppose we have taken a length. Okay, it is having a axial load P, and because of that, the deformation delta D is there. Okay, the strain energy stored in the elastic material upon deformation is calculated. Okay, because of the several geometries and loading conditions. So it is the first condition we are taking, a bar which is subjected to the axial load. Okay. So consider a bar of elastic material fixed at one end and subjected to a steadily increasing force P as shown. The force is applied and kinetic energies are negligible. So initial length of the bar is L. So work done is dW. In extending a bar to a small amount, so it can be given by dW is equal to P into D of delta. So force of extension delta are linearly related. So this delta by the application, we know that sigma upon E is equal to modulus of elasticity. So if you put the value of E as sigma as P upon A, and you put the value of strain as delta upon L, so it is E. So you get this expression only. So delta is equal to E into A divided by. So this is a same expression you have got. So EA, of course, it will be otherwise. So the delta will be equal to EL. Okay. So now you see, this is a the delta you have taken, where E is the Young's model of elasticity. So strain energy will be given by half P into delta, and this delta value you can put here. You can put this value of delta is equal to E into L here. So you will get this value, E square L upon 2. The axial force varies along the bar, then above calculation can be done by using the this formula, that is 0 to L P square upon 2 EA. The strain energy is always positive due to the square of the force P, regardless of whether bar is being compressed or elongated. Note the factor of 1/2 in equation. The energy stored is not simply the force times displacement, because the force is changing during the deformation. Now suppose a circular bar is there and it is subjected to a torsion. Circular bar is there, it is subjected to a torsion, and the radius of the bar is R. So it is subjected to torque T. The torque is equivalent to a couple. So this couple is equal to T is equal to 2 into R into F, the distance between them. As the bar twists through the small angle delta phi, the work done will be equal to 2 times F into S into delta S. So this is equal to T into delta phi. So phi by the torsion formula we know this. Okay. So we can make use of this and we can put the value of phi here. So the stress strain diagram, the torsion versus the angular deformation is drawn like this. So total strain energy will be given by half T into phi, because of the area of this diagram. Now this is you can put the value of I from this equation. So you will get T square L upon 2 times G into the various quantities. If the varying along the length of bar, so you will use this formula 012 T square upon 2 Gj. Where T is the applied torque, which is measured in Newton meter. G is the modulus of rigidity in Pascal, and J is the polar moment of inertia, meter 4. Now, in the case of the how to calculate the strain energy for the shearing stress. So, in the case of the shearing stress, suppose the shaft is subjected to a torsional load. So, the shear stress by using the torsion equation, we know that E by J is equal to G theta upon L is equal to tau upon, where tau is the shear stress and R is the resistance. Okay, so you can make use of this and you can find out tau is equal to T into R divided by 2. So this is the same equation. So you can make use of this. So tau xy square upon 2g into dv, and dv the value you can put. So dv is equal to dA into dx. Okay. So you can put these values in the equation and you will get this final as the energy in the case of the bearing. So if it is of uniform shaft of the uniform diameter, then of course the same energy can be given by this. Whereas is the length of the shaft, E is the torque 0.5, E is the modulus of rigidity, and J is the polar moment of. So thank you very much for this introductory lecture on the strain energy. So we'll be talking